Hi everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Liz. I'm Elizabeth, and today we'll be continuing The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Chapter 4, The Road Through the Forest. After a few hours, the road began to be rough, and the walking grew so difficult that the Scarecrow often stumbled over the yellow bricks, which were very uneven. Sometimes, indeed, they were broken or missing altogether, leaving holes that Toto jumped across and Dorothy walked around. As for the Scarecrow, having no brains, he walked straight ahead and so stepped into the holes and fell at full length on the hard bricks. It never hurt him, however, and Dorothy would pick him up and set him upon his feet again, while he joined her in laughing merrily at his own mishap. The farms were not nearly so well cared for here as they were farther back. There were fewer houses and fewer fruit trees, and the farther they went, the more dismal and lonesome the country became. At noon, they sat down by the roadside near a little brook, and Dorothy opened up her basket and got out some bread. She offered a piece to the Scarecrow, but he refused. "I'm never hungry," he said, "and it is a lucky thing I am not, for my mouth is only painted. And if I should cut a hole in it so that I could eat, the straw I am stuffed with would come out, and that would spoil the shape of my head." Dorothy saw that this was true, so she only nodded and went about eating her bread. "Tell me something about yourself and the country you come from," said the Scarecrow, when she had finished her dinner. So she told him all about Kansas and how gray everything was there, and how the cyclone had carried her to this queer land of Oz. The Scarecrow listened and carefully said, "I cannot understand why you wish to leave this beautiful country and go back to a dry, gray place you call Kansas." "That is because you have no brains," answered the girl. "No matter how dreary and gray our homes are, we people of flesh and blood would rather live there than any other country, be it ever so beautiful. There is no place like home." The Scarecrow sighed. "Of course I cannot understand it," he said. "If your heads were stuffed with straw like mine, you would probably live in the beautiful places, and then Kansas would have no people at all. It is fortunate for Kansas that you had brains." "Won't you tell me a story while we are resting?" asked the child. The Scarecrow looked at her respectfully and said, "My life has been so short that I know nothing whatever. I was only made before yesterday. What happened in the world before that time is all unknown to me. Luckily, when the farmer made my head, one of the first things he did was paint my ears, so that I heard what was going on. There was another munchkin with him, and the first thing I heard the farmer saying was, 'How do you like those ears?' 'They aren't straight,' answered the other. 'Never mind,' said the farmer. 'They are just ears all the same,' which was true enough. 'Now I'll make the eyes,' said the other farmer. So he painted my right eye, and as soon as it was finished, I found myself looking at him and at everything around me with great curiosity. So this was my first glimpse into the world.' 'That's a rather pretty eye,' remarked the munchkin who was looking at the farmer. 'Blue paint is just the color for the eyes.' 'I think I'll make the other one bigger,' said the farmer. And when the second eye was done, I could see much better than before. Then he made my nose and my mouth. But I did not speak, because at the time I didn't know what a mouth was for. I had the fun of watching them make my body, my arms, my legs, and when they fastened on my head, at last I felt proud, for I thought I was just as good as any other man." "This fellow will scare the crows fast enough," said the farmer. "He looks just like a man." "Why, he is a man," said the other, and I quite agreed with him. The farmer carried me under his arm into the cornfield and set me up on a tall stick, where you found me. He and his friend soon after walked away and left me alone. I did not like to be deserted this way, so I tried to walk after them, but my feet would not touch the ground, and I was forced to stay on that pole. It was a lonely life to lead, for I had nothing to think of, having been made of such a little while before. Many crows and other birds flew into the cornfield, but as soon as they saw me, they flew away again. Thinking I was a munchkin, this pleased me, made me feel like I was quite an important person. By and by, an old crow flew near me, and after looking at me carefully, he perched upon my shoulder. And he said, "I wonder if that farmer thought to me that me a fool to have been made in this clumsy manner. Any crow of sense could see that you're stuffed with straw. Ha!" And then he hopped down my feet and ate all the corn he wanted. The other birds, seeing he was not harmed by me, came to eat the corn too. So, in a short time, there was a great flock of them about me. I felt sad at this, for it showed I was not a very good scarecrow, after all. But the old crow comforted me, saying, "If you only had brains in your head, you would be as good as any man or as any one of them, and a better man than some of them. Brains are the only thing worth having in this world, no matter whether one is a crow or a man." After the crows had gone, I thought this over, and I decided I would try my hand to get some brains. By good luck, you came along and pulled me off the stake, and for what I can say, I am sure that the great Oz will give me brains as soon as we can get to the Emerald City. "I hope so," said Dorothy earnestly, "since you seem anxious to have them." "Oh, yes, I am anxious," returned the Scarecrow. "It is such an uncomfortable feeling to know that one is a fool." "Well," said the girl, "let us go." And she handed the basket to the Scarecrow. There were no fences at all by the roadside now, and the land was rough and untilled. Toward evening, they came to a great forest, where the trees grew so big and close together that their branches met over the road of yellow brick. It was almost dark under the trees, but the branches shut out the daylight, and the travelers did not stop, and soon went on to the forest. "If this sword grows in, it must come out," said the Scarecrow. "And as the Emerald City is at the other end of the road, we must go wherever it leads us." "Anyone would know that," said Dorothy. "Certainly, that is why I knew it," said the Scarecrow. "If it required brains to figure it out, I should never have said it." After an hour or so, the light faded away, and they found themselves stumbling along the darkness. Dorothy could see not at all, but Toto could, for some dogs see very well in the dark. And the Scarecrow declared he could see as well as by day. So she took hold of his arm and managed to get along fairly well enough. "If you see any house or any place where we can pass the night," she said, "you must tell me, for it is very uncomfortable walking in the dark." Soon the Scarecrow stopped. "I see a little cottage right in front of us," he said, "built of logs and branches. Shall we go there?" "Yes, indeed," answered the child. "I am all tired out." So the Scarecrow led her through the trees until they reached the cottage, and Dorothy entered and found a bed of dried leaves in one corner. She lay down at once, and with Toto beside her, fell into a sound sleep. The Scarecrow, who was never tired, stood up in another corner and waited patiently until morning came. How is that? Next, stay tuned for the next chapter, and see you soon. If you like the video, click the thumbs up and subscribe. See you soon.